What happens when power is abused and the wrong man is targeted? Tonight's story is about a racist officer who made the mistake of targeting a black Navy SEAL, a man trained, disciplined, and deadlier than anyone could imagine. What follows is a tense, action-filled journey that will keep you hooked from start to finish. But before we begin, tell me, where in the world are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. And don't forget to like this video and subscribe to this channel, so you never miss the next chapter of this powerful story. The Saturday market on Briar Avenue clattered with voices and the tin rattle of a passing train. Malik Hale walked the sidewalk with a paper sack under one arm and a crate of bottled water in the other. He wore a gray navy hoodie, shorts, and river dust shoes. Today he wanted bread, not trouble. A cruiser idled in a no-parking zone. Officer Rourke leaned on the door, sunglasses reflecting the street. His partner Ames, a buzz-cut rookie, stood nearby. "Hey, you, with the crate," Rourke called. Malik stopped beneath the bakery awning. "You talking to me, officer? I don't see anyone else carrying stolen goods. Set it down." He placed sack and crate on the stoop, palms open. "Receipts are inside. I'll show you." "We had a shoplifting call," Ames said. "From who?" the baker asked, flour on his knuckles. "Not me. ID," Rourke said. Malik breathed in, out. He passed his license. "I live 6 blocks away." "Why the hoodie?" "Because the river wind is cold." "Navy, huh?" Ames said. "Reserve now," Malik replied. "Running errands." Rourke returned the card without looking. "Hands on the cruiser." "For buying groceries," the baker said. A woman in a yellow headscarf raised her phone. Others slowed. Malik set his palms on hot steel and spread his feet. He catalogued the street. A delivery truck double-parked near the hydrant, a cyclist weaving past, a boy kneeling by a stroller. He kept his breath smooth and his voice level. Rourke patted him hard. "What's this?" He tugged a folded multi-tool from the hoodie. "Utility tool," Malik said. "Legal length." "Still dangerous," Rourke said. "Anything is dangerous if you're careless." "Don't get clever," Ames warned. "I'm staying calm." Rourke clicked the tool shut and turned to the woman's camera. "You're obstructing a theft investigation." "By buying water?" Malik asked. "Suspect is a tall black male in a gray hoodie," Ames recited. "There are 8 tall black men in gray hoodies on this block," the baker said. "And a few tall white ones. Want a lineup?" Rourke crowded closer. "Where were you between 7 and 8? "Running the river path," Malik said. "The boathouse camera probably caught me." "Alone, mostly." Rourke seized his wrists, squeezing harder than necessary. Malik flexed a knuckle to keep blood moving. "You don't want to do that," he said, even, not challenging. A horn blared. The double-parked truck began creeping backward. The stroller's handle jerked as the mother stumbled. The boy wobbled on one knee. Malik saw the geometry shift, Rourke gripping his wrist, Ames behind him, a rolling wall drifting toward the stroller's wheel. "Hold on," he told the mother. "Don't move," Rourke snapped. The stroller slid toward the gutter. Malik stepped left, broke Rourke's grip, and slipped through the gap by the cruiser's bumper. He locked the stroller's handle and dragged it onto flat concrete. The mother gasped thanks. The driver braked and swore. Ames grabbed at a shoulder that wasn't there, stumbled, and scraped a boot. The phone recorded everything. "Stop resisting," Rourke shouted. Malik raised his hands. "I moved a stroller." Rourke shoved him against the cruiser. A forearm pressed the base of his skull, careless with artery and jaw. Heat rose in his face. He set his forehead on the metal and kept breathing. The crowd murmured. Someone said, "Name and badge." Ames patted him down. "You're making this hard on yourself." "I'm complying." The hood turned his hearing to tunnel sound, but his awareness stayed wide. Brakes set on the truck, the boy patting the baby's shoe, the woman filming with a steady hand. A siren wailed blocks away, an ambulance warble. The sound stitched the air. "Your forearm is on my vertebral artery," Malik said, calm as pool water. "Shift an inch and we both stay safer." "You giving me lessons?" Rourke scoffed. "Advice." Ames tugged a zip tie. "Hands." Malik offered his wrists. The tie ratcheted. He curled his fingers a fraction to avoid tendon pinch. Little tricks from long nights. "Search the bag," Rourke said. The rookie rummaged, glanced at the receipt, tossed it back. "What's the charge?" the baker asked. "Buying bread while black." "Obstruction." "Interfering," Rourke said. "You mean saving a child," the woman with the phone said. Rourke turned toward the lens. Malik saw the micro shift from control to performance. He also saw the other thing. Across the avenue, a pickup nosed from a side street, driver leaning forward like a dog straining a leash. Sun flared on the windshield. The light stayed red. The truck bumped the crosswalk anyway. "You need to move your car," Malik said. "Turn off the phone," Rourke told the woman. "The truck," Malik repeated. The driver's jaw worked. His hand hovered over the horn. The lane to Malik's left was clear. The cruiser blocked the right turn. The pickup edged farther. Ames finally looked. He can't. The engine roared. Front wheels snapped right. Tires screamed. The truck shot across the corner and fishtailed toward the cruiser's rear quarter. The mother screamed. The boy yelled. The baker dropped a tray. The phone swung wide and found the danger again. Malik shifted his weight, ready to do what no one expected from a man with bound hands. Move faster than panic and lighter than steel. He planted his heels, turned into the shove on his neck, and drew a breath that tasted like copper and coming rain, eyes fixed on the spot where impact would land if nobody changed the pattern in the next 2 seconds. Rourke finally glanced up, sunglasses slipping. Ames reached for his radio, mouth open too slow. The pickup's grill bucked over the seam in the asphalt, hood dipping, momentum committing the mistake. Shoppers scattered, knocking over a display of oranges that rolled like marbles across the lane. One bounced under Malik's shoe. He bent his knees, centered his balance, and chose a line through the chaos that would keep innocent bodies safe no matter what the truck decided next. The pickup lunged. Malik shifted, slipped under Rourke's forearm, and set his shoulder to the cruiser's rear panel. The zip tie bit bone. Metal shrieked as the truck clipped the bumper and shoved the sedan sideways. Oranges rolled from a toppled crate, bright as buoys. He leveraged the zip tie against the license bracket and snapped it with a twist. Blood beaded, focus stayed. He slid the stroller behind a bakery column. Stay there, head down. The driver, thick-necked under a baseball cap, jammed reverse, then lurched forward again. The hood dipped toward the boy at the curb. Rourke reached for his holster. Stop! Malik sprinted from the blind angle, planted on the bumper, vaulted to the hood, and slapped the windshield in the driver's sightline. Brake! The foot twitched. Brake screamed. Malik rolled off, tucked, hit concrete, popped up. He turned the child by the shoulders toward his mother. Go! Ames grabbed the driver's door. The man shoved him. The rookie stumbled, recovered, and hauled the door open. Rourke flanked, sunglasses askew. You just bought a stack of charges. Check the light. The driver barked. He jumped my lane. You jumped the red, the baker shouted. Phones hovered. The market breathed in. Rourke hammered the man against the truck and cuffed him to the mirror. Vehicular assault. Ames stared at Malik's free hands. How did leverage, Malik said. Zip ties fail when braced. You resisting arrest? I'm preventing a funeral. Rourke turned on the woman with the phone. Turn that off. No, she said. Malik stepped between them. No shove, just presence. Scene control doesn't require intimidation. Document the collision. Call EMS. Sirens converged. An ambulance rounded the corner, red and blue painting the glass. A fire engine howled 2 streets away. Paramedics jogged out with a bag and a board. Who's hurt? Check the baby, Malik said. And document neck pressure earlier. You a doctor? Rourke sneered. Just stating facts. The baby wailed, hiccuped, then settled. No trauma, a medic said. They noted Malik's abrasion and moved. Dispatch crackled. Unit 12 status. Collision involving Unit 12, Rourke answered. Crowd controlled. A black and white with a gold bar rolled in. Lieutenant Voss stepped out, eyes thin, posture level. She scanned the bent bumper, the cuffed driver, the stroller, the phones, and Malik standing like a mast with blood on his wrist. Report, she said. Rourke talked fast, trimming heat. Voss pivoted. Rookie, call about shoplifting, Ames said. We approached Mr. Hale. The truck hit the cruiser. Mr. Hale freed himself during impact and protected a child. You tied him, Voss asked. Temporary detainment, Rourke said. For buying bread. Her tone could plain wood. Preserve the scene, now. A medic palpated Malik's neck. You kept your airway, habit. Former corpsman, different billet. Voss filed that. Sir, will you give a statement? Gladly. The baker handed water. Malik rinsed blood, drank. Market clatter softened, like held breath leaving a room. Across the street the driver cursed. Rourke tightened the cuffs. Voss cut him a look. Ease up. He tried to run them down, Rourke said, pitching toward cameras. Which is why you won't create additional injuries, Voss replied. Ames crouched by the bumper. Impact low. Brakes late. Shallow skids. Photograph. Tow both, Voss said. The woman lowered her phone. Lieutenant, can we leave? Yes. Thank you. Rourke drifted toward Malik, testing gravity. Where'd you learn to move like that? Rowing. Rowing doesn't break cuffs. Then yoga. Smart mouth for a suspect. Witness, Voss corrected. Helpful. A gray sedan eased in. A tall woman in a dark blazer flashed a blue badge. Agent Solana Cruz, Justice Civil Rights. Responding to multiple uploads. I need Mr. Hale and the lieutenant. Federal for a fender bender, Rourke said. For patterns, Cruz replied. They stepped under the awning while rain began in coins. Cruz faced Malik. Your account? He told it straight. The stop, the zip tie, the forearm, the truck, the stroller. He emphasized breath. He saved everything else. We saw you break restraint, she said, precise. I freed my hands to prevent harm. Threaten any officer? No. Neck restraint applied? Yes. Before impact. Names. Rourke applied pressure. Ames assisted. Voss watched like a ledger. Somewhere a train wailed. The market listened without meaning to. Cruz nodded toward the hoodie. Navy? Once. Still serving? Not in that uniform. She let the limit stand. Closed her notebook. We'll follow up. Lightning walked the river ridge. Voss scanned the sky. We're done on the street. Thank you, everyone. Tow trucks arrived. Vendors reset signs. A broom chased oranges into a crate. Rourke intercepted Malik on the sidewalk. Next time, don't play hero. Next time, cover a stroller. Rourke leaned close. You think this ends with applause? It ends with a child breathing. Ames called for forms. The spell broke. Rourke stalked to the radio. Cruz exchanged cards with Voss and slid back into the sedan. Malik lifted his sack and crate. Ake arrived now that adrenaline thinned. He headed home through drizzle, crossing the footbridge where the current curled around stone pylons. A jogger slowed. You the guy from the market? Just heading home. Thanks for the kid, the jogger said, trotting on. Malik watched a barge shove upstream, stretched his neck, and continued into the neighborhood of porches and rain chains. He didn't see the dark SUV slip from a side street or the short radio burst that spoke his name like a problem hail. At his gate, the motion light clicked on. The porch smelled like cedar and wet rope from the rowing shell under the eaves. He set the crate down, fished keys from his hoodie, and paused. Footsteps scuffed behind him, then stilled. A cruiser idled at the corner. Rourke stood under the maple, rain beating on his cap. Ames hovered a step behind, eyes worried. The street showed only wet asphalt in the pale arch of the bridge. We need another word, Rourke said. Make it lawful, Malik replied. You broke detainment. Rain hissed through the maple, ticking on Malik's porch rail like impatient fingers. He set the grocery sack on the step beside the crate of water and faced the sidewalk, palms open, shoulders square. The motion light washed the yard in a hard white cone. The rest of the block sat in river-colored gloom. Make it lawful, he repeated. You ended detainment at the market. Rourke stood in the wet like a statue that wanted to move. We're following up on a theft pattern. Questions. Ask from there, Malik said. Body cam on? Ames tapped his vest. A blue LED pulsed. Rourke's light stayed dead. Turn it on, Malik said. Rourke's smile showed too many teeth. Batteries low. Then use Ames's recording and keep your distance. The rookie slid half a step forward, unsure. This is just voluntary contact, sir. Then it ends if I say so, Malik said, which I might. Across the street, a porch light blinked on. Ms. Alvarez, retired schoolteacher, leaned on her cane and lifted a phone. I'm live, she called. Neighbors watching. Rourke didn't look her way. He tipped his cap back and gestured toward the crate. You didn't pay for that water. The receipt's on top, Malik said. Lift the flap. Ames eased the cardboard, found the slip, and read the bakery's name and timestamp. He showed it to his training officer. It checks. Rourke didn't glance. We got a tip you matched a suspect description from last week. From who? Malik asked. Rourke's jaw worked. Anonymous. Same hoodie. I own 2 gray hoodies. Same brand, Malik said. Half the rowing team does. This conversation is over. He bent to pick up the sack. Rourke stepped in, catching his wrist. Hands where I can see them. Malik froze. You're in my yard. No warrant. It's an investigative detention. Not in my yard, it isn't. Alvarez said, loud enough to carry. Get off his property. Ames looked stricken. Let's just ask questions, Sarge. No need to. Back to the curb, Malik said to Rourke, calm as a tide that hid Rip. Right now. Rourke tightened his grip in a little twist meant to invite a mistake. You gonna make me? Don't, Malik said. A raindrop slid off the brim of Rourke's cap and fell onto Malik's knuckles. The tiniest thing can tip a moment. Behind the cruiser, the dark SUV idled without lights, windows varnished in night. Malik clocked it and filed the engine note. Something tuned, a deep hum that came from money and intention. He raised his voice so the phone across the street and Ames's body cam would catch every word. Officer Rourke, you are on my private property without a warrant or exigent circumstance. You do not have my consent to detain or search me. Release my wrist. Rourke's face didn't move. He squeezed harder. Rain traced his jaw. The porch light burned. Thunder cracked the bridge. The maple threw a handful of water on all 3 of them like an umpire's call. Malik flexed his fingers to keep blood moving and deliberately didn't pull away. Ames, he said, eyes on the rookie. For your training log, disengagement is the safest option. Write it down exact. Ames swallowed, throat bobbing. Sarge, we should step back. Take a walk, rookie, Rourke said. I want to see his hands. They're right here, Malik said, opening his palm more. And they're staying open. A gate latch clicked at the side alley, the sound of an old spring releasing. Malik didn't turn his head, didn't look. He noted. Ms. Alvarez heard it too. Her phone swung slightly toward the alley and back. Someone's in your side yard, she said. Rourke's eyebrows barely moved. We're securing the perimeter. You brought a third unit? Malik asked. No, Ames said. We didn't. The SUV engine deepened a notch. A door maybe. Just out of sight, a whisper of metal and wet rubber. The hair at the back of Malik's neck went colder than the rain. Step away from my side gate, he said to the darkness. You are on private property. Identify yourself. No answer. Only the puddling drip and the river's far hiss. Rourke leaned closer until Malik could smell the coffee on his breath. You think you're clever. I think you should follow policy, Malik said. Ames's radio popped. All units near Briar Avenue, stand by. DOJ CRD requests. Hold on all contact with subject Hale pending interview. Cruise. Malik kept his exhale small. Rourke's grip didn't loosen. Wrong channel, he said, and then louder. Dispatch, repeat last. The radio repeated it, more impatient. Hold on contact. Missy Alvarez clapped from her porch once. A single sharp sound like a school bell. Did you hear the lady? Step off, officer. Rourke color shifted under the lamp, red anger bleeding through blue shadow. He let go at last and took one backward step, then another, eyes never leaving Malik's face. Fine, interview tomorrow. But you stay reachable. I'll be at home, Malik said. You always are, Rourke said. He turned toward the curb. Ames. The rookie backed away, relief in his shoulders. Good night, sir. Rourke paused at the walkway and looked toward the side alley. The gate latch clicked shut, metal on metal. He didn't go check. Malik filed that too. The cruiser rolled off, wipers buzzing. The SUV remained. It drifted forward half a car length and stopped like a shark tasting current. Malik stood still until the tail lights faded around the corner. Miss Alvarez kept her phone up for a full minute more, then lowered it slowly, cane tucked under her arm. You call somebody, she said. Already inbound, Malik said, and he was right. A second later, the gray sedan from the market eased against the curb. Agent Solana Cruz stepped out, umbrella held without fuss, hair slicked back from a face that didn't waste lines. I told them to hold, she said. They almost didn't. Almost is a word that hides bruises, Malik replied. Cruz looked at the SUV without looking. Company. Unlabeled. Engine sounds expensive. She nodded toward Malik's porch. May I? You can stand under the oar rack, he said. Keeps the camera view clean. Miss Alvarez lifted her phone again. We're still live, she announced, and Cruz raised a hand in greeting to nobody and everybody. What do you need from me? Malik asked. Your statement on record, Cruz said, and permission to canvass for video. You got both. She opened a slim notebook. Before the market, anything unusual this week? Vehicles shadowing, doors tested, mail disturbed, unknown calls. 2 hang-ups. An envelope with no return address that smelled like thinner. A guy in a raincoat who didn't belong in the boathouse after midnight and left when I said coach into the dark. Cruz's pencil moved. Why coach? Because a prowler will run from authority, but a teammate will answer. She hid a smile. You always operate like that? Pressure without escalation? I like everyone to go home alive. Rain intensified, drumming on the hull of the shell. The SUV inched forward again, then eased past, no plates visible behind smoked covers. Cruz pivoted, eyes on the profile of the driver but never directly. The SUV turned down the next block and vanished behind the cedar hedge. Cruz tapped her earpiece. Plate concealment, probable illegal, copy. Units, canvass East Alley on foot. Quietly. Miss Alvarez, Malik called. You still filming? Until my battery dies, she said. Thank you. She nodded. I taught 8th graders for 30 years. I know how to hold a line. Cruz closed the notebook. One more thing, Mr. Hale. The stop today. Have you interacted with Officer Rourke before? Twice. He likes corners where nobody sees. Was pressure applied to your neck previously? Yes, tonight too. Cruz's jaw ticked. I'll need medical photographs. Document everything. Inside then, Malik said, gesturing to the door. They stepped into the small front room that smelled like rope wax and cardamom from the bread. The oars hung like long bones above a bookshelf full of dog-eared paperbacks and a neatly coiled throw line. Malik flicked a lamp. Warm light made the rain feel farther away. He set the sack on the counter and took out the bread. His hands shook after the stillness, a tremor he knew well, the body asking where to put all the leftover adrenaline. He breathed slow, and it smoothed. Cruz took photos of the red mark fading along his neck, the abrasion on his wrist, a smear of blood on the hoodie cuff. She checked angles and distance like someone who'd done this too many times to get it wrong. Good, she said. A floorboard creaked in the back hallway. soft, wrong. Malik's house settled in storms, but not like that. He raised 2 fingers. Cruz froze, listening. Ms. Alvarez's voice drifted through the open door, chatting to her unseen viewers about hydrangeas and policy like a decoy lullaby. Malik gestured toward the kitchen doorway and moved without sound. He set a hand on the wall and felt for vibration. Another creak, closer. Not the fridge, not the heater. Weight where weight should not be. Cruz slid her phone into her pocket and loosened her umbrella like a baton. Her eyes asked, "No weapon?" Malik shook his head. Everything he wanted was locked in a steel box in the closet, and anyway, this was a house built for simpler solutions. He stepped into the hall and saw the outline of a man reflected in the glass of the laundry room door. A shadow field jacket, cap brim low, hand on the knob of the back exit. The side gate had clicked earlier like a promise. The back door deadbolt turned with a soft, certain snick. Malik's pulse slowed as if his body had found the beat of an old song. He raised his voice just enough to carry through the hall but not out to the street. "You chose the wrong door." The knob twisted. The deadbolt slid the last millimeter. Rain blew against the back stoop. Cold air joined the room. Cruz lifted the umbrella slightly like a fencer finding range. "Federal agent," she said, voice firm. "Identify yourself now." Nothing. Then a low laugh just above a whisper. Malik took 1 step, then another, each foot as quiet as the next breath, and reached the angle where the laundry glass would stop being a mirror and start showing the intruder real. The doorknob turned fully. A boot toe crossed the threshold. The house held its breath. The boot crossed the threshold and left a wet print on the tile. Malik shifted his weight just enough to stack joints and keep options open. The intruder eased in sideways, shoulder to the jamb, a gloved hand sweeping the air as if feeling for tripwires. A faint citrus solvent rode the rain off his jacket. No radio hiss, no badge flash. He moved like someone who trusted muscle memory more than paperwork. "Hands where I can see them," Cruz said, steady and measured. The man didn't raise his palms. He angled deeper, face shadowed by the cap brim. A dull rectangle bulged under the jacket, hard case for a compact tool or a short baton. The umbrella in Cruz's grip lowered a fraction, then rose again, blade swift, not a threat but a promise of space. Outside, Missy Alvarez's voice drifted through like kitchen radio, cheerful and calm, telling stories about student debates while her phone kept watching the porch. The intruder swung the door shut with his heel. It latched with a click. Malik breathed once through his nose, tasted drywall dust and wet wool, and decided. He stepped into the laundry doorway, not charging, just appearing exactly where the intruder didn't expect a man to be. The cap tipped fractionally, recalculating angles. "Stop right there," Cruz said. The gloved hand lifted slightly, palm open half an inch. A compact flashlight rolled from his fingers and knocked the baseboard. A beam spun across the floor, painting a shallow cone that made shadows taller. In the blink between strobe and still, the man's other hand dipped inside the jacket. Malik moved. He didn't close the distance like a brawler. He cut space in half on a diagonal, slid his forearm under the intruder's wrist before the grip locked on anything, and rotated his hips. The motion wasn't flashy. It was quiet math applied to bone. The man's hand skittered off the case. Breath punched out of him in a grunt he didn't plan. Cruz stepped to the flank, umbrella shaft jamming into the hinge of the man's shoulder like a dowel wedged under a wheel. "Down," she said. He twisted like a cat, low and mean, and snapped his elbow toward Malik's temple. Malik tucked his chin, let the strike scrape hoodie and not skull, and used the energy to feed the turn. The intruder's palm flattened on the washer lid. Rubber feet squealed on tile. A detergent bottle toppled, soap scent blooming. The cap fell back a touch, gray stubble, scar notched along the jaw, eyes that stayed icy even when pain asked for attention. "Name," Malik said. Silence, then that too soft laugh again. He drove his forearm across the man's triceps and pinned the wrist to the appliance. Cruz pressed the umbrella harder, making a lever out of a rainy day. The man's knees bent. He refused the floor, hovering in that stubborn squat where bad choices live. "Federal agent," Cruz repeated louder. "Identify now." The man's gaze flicked to the back door. Malik read the angle and shifted his stance to block that exit without looking like he had. The umbrella slid an inch, searching for purchase against fabric slick with rain. The man hissed, then snapped his head toward Cruz, trying for a brow cut on the ferrule. She dipped just enough, brass tip skidding along the cap brim instead of bone. He changed tactics. He let his weight drop, then rolled his shoulder under Malik's forearm, a slick little shrug learned in crowded rooms. Malik felt the angle change and gave him exactly what he wanted, an inch more space. and then took 2 inches of his own in a different plane. The wrist met the lip of the washer. The joint made a sound like a knuckle cracked by a kid at the back of class, too small for drama, big enough to change minds. The man's fingers went slack for a heartbeat. Cruz slid the umbrella down to trap the forearm against the lid and reached for the man's other sleeve with her free hand. "Don't make this worse," she said. He made it worse. A blade popped from a spring track in his cuff. Thin, almost pretty. A letter opener built by someone who hated letters. Malik saw the glint, pivoted his hips and put his thigh between Cruz and the flash. Metal kissed denim and skittered away. The blade sliced the air a second time, aimed at tendons. Malik caught the hand with the heel of his palm and clipped the thumb. The blade clanged against the tile and spun under the dryer. "Enough," Malik said. "Copy," Cruz said, breath fast, voice still flat. Outside, tires hissed along the curb. The SUV returned, engine note swelling. A dull thud touched the side gate as if a shoulder checked wood. Ms. Alvarez's voice sharpened on the porch. "The black truck is back," she announced like a weather report. Cruz's eyes flicked to Malik. He nodded once. She pulled a small whistle from her jacket and blew a single piercing note that cut through rain, porch talk, and the hum of appliances. It wasn't panic. It was a flag. From the front room, her phone buzzed as the code hit an earbud somewhere. The man used the half-beat of sound to drive his forehead toward Malik's cheek. Malik caught the motion in peripheral vision, turned his head, and let the skull slide along the ridge of his brow. Pain flashed white and left. He fed the strike into a counter not taught in gyms, just a simple step that made gravity his partner. The man's shoulder hit the washer lid. Cruz twisted the umbrella and pinned the wrist so the elbow couldn't turn. "Hands flat," she said. The intruder smiled without humor and stilled his body like a snake waiting for warmth. Malik kept pressure on the lever points, not punishing, just unignoring. The cap brim tilted back farther. The scar along the jaw pulled tight. A small tattoo peeked over the collar, lines blurred by years and salt, a winged trident. The kind painted in places that don't admit cameras. Cruz saw it too. Her voice changed by a shade. "So that's the circle," she murmured. The man's eyes flickered. Not fear, calculation flaring into pride. "You don't get to claim that," he said. The first words he'd given the room. "I claim jurisdiction," Cruz said. Malik felt the weight shift again. Subtle, a test of ankles and doorways, the way men who trained in teams feel for rescue routes that don't exist in houses owned by civilians with good locks. The back door latch quivered once, then steadied. Someone touched it from the outside and let go. The SUV paddle shifted, engine wah-wah-wah as if impatient. Missy Alvarez spoke up like a chorus. "We're still live. Thousands watching now. Smile, you're on a better channel than your PR team can buy." "Ma'am," Cruz called, not taking eyes off the man, "stay exactly where you are." She let the umbrella go and swapped to a flex cuff from a pocket. Malik transitioned pressure smoothly, free hand sliding to the forearm, giving Cruz the wrist. The band zipped closed, small teeth catching. A second cuff snagged the other hand. The man tested both like a sailor tests a knot, then went still. "On the floor," Cruz said, quietly. He sank to his knees and rolled to his side, cheek on tile. His breath sounded clean. Even with pressure, his lungs knew how to draw calm air. Malik noted it, and kept it. Cruz took a photo of the tattoo with 2 fingers braced to keep distance and filed the image in a vault inside her face. "Name," she tried again. "Tell your neighbor to stop narrating," he said instead. Cruz didn't answer. She signaled Malik with a small tilt of her head, and he stepped to the kitchen arch, scanning sightlines. The front door was still ajar to the porch light and Miss Alvarez's silhouette. The street was a wet ribbon. The SUV idled half visible beyond the hedge. 2 dark shapes loitered near the corner, like rhymes waiting for their couplet. Cruz spoke into her shoulder mic, low. Units approach rear quietly, 1 in custody inside, 2 possibles outside. No sirens. No reply crackled back. The system had felt compromised earlier. Trusting it now would be like leaning on rotten railing. She pocketed the mic and jerked her chin toward Malik. "We call in from your landline." "Wall phone in the kitchen," he said. "Doesn't ride the same wires as the modem." He grabbed the handset and dialed a direct number Cruz recited without thinking. When the call connected, she gave a fast, dry brief and hung up. 3 minutes, she said. "They'll come on foot from the east, no lights." The intruder on the floor chuckled. 3 minutes, he echoed, like a gambler savoring the last chips. "Plenty of time. For what?" Malik asked. "For them to test your hinges," the man said, eyes sliding toward the back door like a coin sliding down glass. As if on cue, the latch groaned. The deadbolt held. A screwdriver whispered metal against metal, delicate as a violin string. A second set of hands pressed wood near the lower hinge, low and steady, not banging, not prying, just adding pressure where screws fatigue. Malik moved to the jamb, placed his palm above the bolt, and flattened his forearm against the frame. He wasn't bracing the door against a battering ram. He was listening through wood. Under his skin, the hinge sang. Old houses speak when they hurt. He traced the melody to a specific screw he'd tightened in spring and hadn't touched since. Hold that, he told Cruz. She stepped to the jamb and mirrored his palm with hers, adding weight, not locking her body, just feeding the frame, the kind of faith that keeps a thing from giving up. Ms. Alvarez stopped talking and breathed, the porch going very quiet, the rain now a privacy curtain. A knuckle-tapped glass on the other side, twice, then twice more. A pattern. Malik didn't bother interpreting the code. He shifted 2 inches and peered through the tiny gap between curtain and casing. A sleeve of dark nylon, a patch of a logo blacked out with marker, a wristband with a reflective strip turned inward. Men who prep gear to hide in plain sight. Do not enter, Cruz said, voice pitched for wood, not televisions. The screwdriver withdrew. The hinge quieted. The SUV engine changed tone. One of the shapes on the corner drew a phone, held it chest high, and typed. 2 streetlights blinked twice and stayed off, like eyelids refusing light. Power grid test, coincidence, too tidy to be either. 3 minutes, Cruz repeated, mostly for herself. Less, Malik said, and he wasn't guessing. Somewhere east, a set of footfalls slapped through puddles with intent. Another set matched them half a stride off, lighter, quick. He pictured agents with long coats folded tight, and boots that knew alleys. He pictured neighbors who already learned which windows see better at night. The intruder smiled against the tile. You still think you get to pick the ground, he said. I picked a room with witnesses, Malik answered. Witnesses are screens. The man shrugged, cuffs clinking, screens cut both ways. Cruz knelt, eyes level with his. You stepped into a civilian home without a warrant. You carried a blade and concealed tools. Anything else you want on the record while the camera on that porch keeps you honest? He said nothing, but his tongue found the scar on his jaw again, a nervous habit disguised as indifference. The umbrella leaned against the washer like a spear retired after one last hunt. Soap crawled toward a drain, slow as cold honey. The back gate latch clicked again, this time not a test but an opening granted by someone with a key or the patience to become one. A wet gust stung their faces. The hinge sang a second note, higher, as fresh weight found steel. Now, Cruz whispered. Malik exhaled once and let gravity pour into his legs. He planted his feet in the architecture of the floor, beam, joist, tile, and turned his shoulders so his body became one more brace for the house he'd built to be quiet. He wasn't waiting to be brave. He was choosing where to stand when the next second arrived and tried to take something that didn't belong to it. A shadow filled the frosted panel. The knob turned slowly, confidently, like a hand that had never met a closed door it respected. The deadbolt held. Knuckles tapped that 2-2 pattern again, patient as a metronome. Beyond the porch, faint and closing, another rhythm approached, boots that belonged to people who sign their names to things. 2 steps, Cruz mouthed. Malik nodded. The floor felt ready. The air thinned. The house counted down in the quiet language of old wood and measured breath. The knob turned as far as metal would let it, then stopped. Boots reached the alley. The door waited to learn which side of the story would speak first. The knocking changed. 2 short, 1 long. A voice tried authority. Police. The cadence was wrong. Cruz kept her palm on the jamb. Malik listened to the hallway breathe. Badge number, Cruz called. Silence. Then the same taps. Wet footfalls sprinted in the alley. A fist thumped the gate. Justice open, Cruz answered with a whistle note. 2 agents slid into the alley's shadow, weapons down, jackets marked with DOJ chevrons. The porch knob turned uselessly. The SUV's engine growled. Ms. Alvarez said for her live stream, I can see your face, sweetheart, and kept filming. Now, Cruz whispered. Malik cracked the deadbolt on the chain. Rain kissed his cheek. A gloved hand slammed the door. The chain held. Malik smashed the edge into the wrist, slipped the chain, and stepped aside as the panel flew wide. 2 men in matte jackets surged in. One carried a breaching wedge, the other palmed a black-taped canister. They saw their cuffed partner on the tile and hesitated. Malik stole the beat, turned the wedge man's elbow, folded him between washer and wall. Cruz soccer-kicked the canister under the steel sink. Tear gas hissed into the drain. Federal agents, hands up. Cruz's backup barked from the alley door. One agent boot-blocked the hinge while the other sighted low. Both intruders went still, palms high. Belly, Cruz ordered. Plastic cuffs whispered shut. A siren chirped once. Cut. A patrol cruiser stopped out front. Rourke climbed out, hat low, sunglasses absurd. He clocked the camera, the open door, the idling SUV. He touched his radio and walked toward the porch like a man refusing the cliff ahead. "Officer," Ms. Alvarez said, "Sugar and Steel, you're on candid class time. I'm here to secure a scene," he said. "The scene's secure," a DOJ agent answered, materializing at his shoulder with the posture of a wall. "Who called you?" Rourke asked. "The Constitution," Ms. Alvarez said, hearts rising in her comments. Inside, Cruz rotated the cuffed intruder to face the laundry camera. The winged trident tattoo showed. Water dripped from his cap like seconds. Ames jogged from darkness, raincoat flapping. He stopped at the wall of phones. "Sarge, back to the car," Rourke hissed. "Stay," the DOJ agent told the rookie, soft and absolute. Cruz stepped onto the porch with her badge high. "Lieutenant Voss has been paged. Until she arrives, this residence is under federal protection. Officer Rourke, step away." Rourke's smile was cut glass. "On whose authority?" "Mine," Cruz said. She tipped her head. "Bring them out." The two arrestees shuffled to the porch, cuffs bright in the rain. The SUV tried to creep off, then saw a neighbor's pickup ease into the lane like a chess piece. It stopped. More cameras found it. Lieutenant Voss arrived in a yellow slicker that read Lighthouse. She scanned cuffs, rein, chevrons, then said to Rourke, "Your body cam should be rolling. Battery died. Then you're off my scene." She faced Cruz. "Your hold. Armed home invasion by parties matching prior facilities sightings. One carried a prohibited blade, winged trident ink." Voss's mouth flattened. She turned to Rourke. "Why are off-book assets hunting a witness I told you to leave alone?" He tried a shrug. It soured. "Anonymous tip about threats. Documented on paper. Then surrender your weapon and badge to me for 72 hours pending review." Ames inhaled. Ms. Alvarez murmured, Rourke gave a humorless laugh. "For doing my job, for failing it," Voss said. He didn't move. 2 beats, 3. He turned defiance outward. "You people are going to let a suspect write policy." "Witness," Cruz said. "Never," Ms. Alvarez added. Malik stood framed in his doorway, straight, quiet. The market had seen him save a child. The city now watched him keep a house. Both truths sat like furniture that wouldn't be moved. "You think this ends with cameras?" Rourke said. "It ends with paperwork," Voss replied, "and charges." The SUV driver picked a bad plan. Gunned the engine, hopped the curb, tried to slide past the pickup through a sliver of yard. Tires spat mud, a post cracked. 2 plainclothes agents unfolded from behind the hedge like gateposts. "Out," one said. The driver lifted his hands. "Turn around," Cruz told Rourke. He looked at Malik instead. Rain trickled off his brim. Under the lamp he seemed smaller. A man in rails he'd insisted weren't there. "Turn around," Voss repeated. He did. The cuffs clicked twice. No drama. Just the sound a bad story makes when it agrees to sit down. Phones hushed. Ms. Alvarez said, "Class dismissed," and lowered her camera. Cruz exhaled. Malik felt the house breathe, wood easing from the curve it had held. He looked down the hall. Washer, umbrella, drained canister. 3 men on tile who had bet on shadows and lost to witnesses in light. "Mr. Hale," Voss said, gentler, "we can arrange a hotel if you want distance." "I'll stay," he said. "Houses keep courage better when you don't abandon them." Cruz's mouth tipped. "Units will post. My card still works at dawn. Bring coffee," Ms. Alvarez called. "I bake at 6. Neighbors laughed. Thin, real. Ames lingered, soaked and uncertain. Malik said from a respectful distance, "Write what happened. Write it whole. Sleep comes sooner." Ames nodded. "Yes, sir." Blue lights rotated without sirens while Voss's team logged evidence, the spring blade, the breaching wedge, the taped canister that died under a sink. The SUV rode a tow. Doors shut. Rain softened. Inside, Cruz leaned the umbrella by the door like a knight's spear. "He paid a price," she said. "Not mine to collect," Malik answered. He poured 2 glasses of water. They stood with Miss Alvarez in warm light while the house found a quieter beat. "Tomorrow," Cruz said, "we start making this official." "Tomorrow," Malik echoed. They sealed the back door. The latch settled clean. The wood hummed the song homes sing when storms pass and nothing essential breaks. Outside, the river moved under the bridge, white on black, steady and free.